Hi, this is finally the update 2.8.0 for the BlueARP. By the way, sorry for my voice, I had a severe flu for a couple of weeks and my voice is still completely broken, didn't yet fully recover. But anyway, here's the update. A lot of small refinements. Because this 2.7.0 update was a bit rushed out, I wanted to make it before Christmas and I made it. And it was a lot of work, really. But now a lot of small refinements, and one very important thing is that I reworked the logic for restart on key. And now it's much more musical and responsive for the guitar mode. We'll check it later in this video. A few small improvements, and the important thing is that now bank format has changed, so please be careful when moving to this 2.8.0 version, because after you move you can't load back your project saved with this version with the previous 2.7.0. It just won't understand it, because now it has some lightweight compression on the banks, which makes them a bit smaller. Not a big deal for the plugin, but important thing for the BlueARP DM, which will get this update in a couple of weeks, I think. Some refinements for the guitar chord voicing. It's still work in progress, but I think with all the major chords like minor, major, all kinds of seventh chords, sus2, sus4, these ones should work fine already. The big thing also is that now factory banks are all embedded into the plugin, not only for the ARP mode but also for the drum and guitar. So when you switch your operation mode to the drum or guitar, let's check it here. Like now I'm in arpeggiator, I'm switching to drum sequencer, and I have all these factory presets here, and the same in the guitar strum. These banks are not yet ready, they're kind of halfway or 30%, but it's at least something to start with, and hopefully in the future I'll make them kind of complete. And the manual, please check the manual. I spent quite a while updating the manual, and there you can find the descriptions for all these new parameters for the guitar and the drum mode. And there is a separate block dedicated to the drum sequencer mode, where you can find all these parameters related to drum sequencing, and also a separate block for the guitar strum mode. Some things I didn't cover in the previous video, so you can find the descriptions here. And we'll move on. First of all, I'll try to explain this combination of settings: restart on, input quantize, and input quantize tolerance. Let's check it with this ballad 3. Now you can hear the sound from my motif XS. On the motif XS I have this preset called Clean Electric and Acoustic 3, number 73, bank 2, and I'm tweaking it just a little bit. We go here to the release and adjusting it so to be somewhere +5. Longer release makes it more natural in the strumming pattern. And first of all, let's turn it off. A restart on will be beat 0 and input quantize quarter notes. And what happens now? So my input is quantized. It doesn't sound bad. But if I want to emphasize this chord change, what I want to do is I want to switch to restart on key and see what happens. You can see each time I press a chord, it starts from the beginning. It starts its internal steps, a sequencer from the beginning. So I can even re-trigger the same chord several times. Another problem that I encountered when I try to play various pop songs is that with this input quantize, BlueARP is quite unforgiving to small latencies in the input keys. So if you're just a little bit late, pressing the input chords, you'll have to wait for the next beat. before it accepts your input chord. And to avoid that, this is this quantize tolerance, which I can set, for example, to 16th notes. There is quite a good explanation in the manual, I think. Here we go. Quantize tolerance. Here we have the situation when on the second bar our input keys are just a little bit late. And what happens if I have quantize tolerance set to none is that this chord change will be captured only after the next beat. And with input quantize tolerance 16th notes, they get captured at this additional 16th note, which still sounds nice because we stay within our grid and we don't have to wait for the next whole beat to capture our input keys. So let's check how it sounds in a musical context. I'll try to change the chords and I'll try to be a little bit late, so you see what happens. You see, sometimes it will start from the step 2, not from the step 1. When I'm a little late, so it kind of misses the step 1 and starts the sequence right from the step 2. And now finally, with this combination of settings, it becomes, to my feeling, as responsive as the good arrangers. And quantize tolerance, I can set it to a special setting equals sync. It means it will take this value from the sync parameter and it will be 16th notes as well. And now I want to demonstrate the same thing with input quantize and quantize tolerance with the very famous track Yesterday by Beatles. Here we have this kind of simple guitar pattern. You see, when we go down from A to F, each time it restarts when I press a chord. And now let's set it back to restart on beat 0 and check what happens. So yeah, it doesn't sound completely wrong, but we don't have this emphasis on the start of each new chord. So that's why restart on key is a preferable way with the guitar mode. And now a short example with the drums and bass. Now I switch to the clean guitar sound on my motif. Is this preset number 89, bank to dual coil 65. I also increase release time just a little bit, like +5. And here from the factory bank you can set program number 36, clean guitar 5. It has this voicing just for the 4 higher strings, strings 1 to 4. And we get this kind of pattern. And let's check some patterns in the factory bank. They're suited for clean guitar. This one is for 130 BPM and it sounds like this. By the way, please let me know in the comments if you recognize some of the songs that these patterns are maybe based on. Important thing here is that we have for chord voicing these strings 1, 2, 3. It's just the 3 bottom strings on the guitar, which are usually used when you strum the electric guitar, because if you use all 6 strings it will become too muddy, and we can check that. If I temporarily switch to full default, we'll have all the 6 strings. Well, with this guitar it's not bad either, but it's kind of too full. It may sound good if you don't have a lot of stuff in your arrangement, and if you have the bass and the other instruments, it's better to go back to strings 1-3, and then it's pretty thin and it will sit better in a dance mix, I guess. Or we can use strings 1-4, just getting one extra string more. Let's check some other patterns for the clean guitar. That's an interesting pattern, we'll check it a bit later. We might check this in a musical context. Just, I don't want these drums, this one. Yeah, this bass will work. Yeah, so this is the way it works. Some other patterns we probably have here is this one for 90 BPM. Let's go down. This is kind of reggae, reggae kind of stuff. Variations of the same reggae stuff. Let's add some bass because it sounds really nice. Yeah, this is our bass. And we need kind of swingy kind of rhythm. So yeah, I tried various styles and pop songs. I really did a lot of experiments, and what you hear is just a fraction of what I've tried. To make sure this guitar mode is expressive enough to cover not only the acoustic guitar but also the electric. And now back to one clean guitar rhythm, which is pretty special. And I'm using the same dual coil 65 preset on my motif. And let you guess in the comments what song is that. So yeah, it feels really cool that now it's possible to create this kind of riffs with BlueARP. And last but not least, a couple of settings I want to emphasize is this capo and velocity amplify. First, the capo, it models this thing called capo you put on the guitar strings instead of holding them with the index finger. And for example, we have E minor, which is played on the open strings. But if we put capo on the fret 1, which I'm going to model right now, it can no longer play that open E chord, and it will rather have to play, for example, DM plus 2 frets. So let's check it. You see, it's now much thinner chord. Back to capo 0. I have my full AM. And now it's kind of DM plus 2 frets, which is basically the same EM chord. And another thing is this velocity amplify. You can find it in the manual with the kind of formula, how it works. And basically it's kind of expression which will adjust the velocity of the output notes. If I decrease my velocity amplify to 0, it will attract to the base value, which is 64 in my case. And I can change that, for example, to 96. Now all my velocities are 96. And if I increase it now, it will start to amplify them around the 96 value, which won't make much difference, but the lower velocities are getting attenuated right now. The more musical way here is going back to 64 base velocity, and then when I increase the velocity amplify, you can hear it's kind of more expression, more emphasis on the certain steps where I have high velocities. And if I go down, I lose the dynamics and it becomes quieter because it's attracted to the velocity 64. So you can use it just to emphasize certain parts of your guitar rhythm track. It works just the same with the drum mode. The formulas are the same, the logic is the same. So I think that's it for now. My idea for the next video is to check various free synth plugins you can use with BlueARP for the guitar mode. This sound canvas, it's not free, it's part of the Roland Cloud subscription, so you can get that if you have Roland Cloud subscription. But still, this plugin is not maintained anymore. It will never be updated. Its GUI is not scalable. Here I have Full HD and it looks okay, but on a 4K screen it will be impossible to work with. I have this hardware Motif XS, which has fantastic guitars, probably the best I've heard in a hardware synth. For freeware plugins, it's quite a challenge to find a good guitar sound. So let me know if you're interested in that, and if you know any good free VST guitar plugins, let me know as well, because I'm gonna do some research here and make a next video on this. I hope the BlueARP DM will get the same update shortly. It's almost there, like 80% of the work done. So thanks for watching, stay tuned and have fun with BlueARP. See you next time.